All right, guys, good morning. Afternoon, actually. So, yesterday we had our first day of camp, and today I'm just going to answer some questions that you may be having about the theme project now that you've kind of delved into it, you've talked to your group members, and you're trying to figure out what it is exactly that I want. Remember, you have one experienced team member at least in your group. Some of you have multiple. So, you have at least one fresh new member. Oh, I hear a baby. He's probably coming to help me do my project. All right, so utilize your resources on your team. Also, direct all of your questions to your editors because they're actually getting graded on their ability to help you. So instead of them doing the project, they're working on their leadership skills and their ability to mentor. So please give them that opportunity to earn their grade. The task. We're going to create a fresh and relevant 2020 yearbook. We've got to come up with a theme, and it needs to be perfect for our school this year. It shouldn't be anything generic. This time, look at the date assigned. So we got it yesterday, and it is due the 27th. So I've given you ample time to work on this. Yes, you have to work on it outside of class. That's a non-negotiable. If you want to meet up with each other and work together, you can. If you want to do it all online, you can. There are people that work with others in the professional setting and they never see them face to face. It's completely remote. And this is getting used to having to do that. So the grade, it's 500 points total. There's a 400-point grade in which you have your portfolio. And we'll talk about that for a minute. And then we have your individual requirements. That's the other 100 points. So in the portfolio, you don't need to put it into any kind of bound book because this is all digital. Just take the images, put them in Google Slides or into PowerPoint. Just turn them into PDFs or JPEGs and just stick them on a slide. Oh, I have a cranky baby. The first thing that you need to do before doing anything else, before deciding workload, any of that, is that together collectively you need to come up with a theme. And the sheets that go along with this packet will actually help you do that. So have an explanation paragraph, and it should be a chunky paragraph. It should have not only the theme, explain to me how you came up with that theme, how it's perfect for our school, how it reflects the year. And then I want for you to talk about how you can utilize it in other ways, how you can create verbal and visual spin-offs. Explain a little bit about the versatility of it. Explain some graphic elements and why you chose those colors and that font. Explain your choices. That's what I want with that explanation paragraph. And so it should be a fairly thick paragraph. We're talking at least 7 to 8 sentences. Section spin-offs. So determine how you're going to divide your book up. Of course, we haven't decided that yet, but you can do traditional, lifestyles, academics, sports, people, reference, or you can do, you can even have like a special section. Some yearbooks, instead of having stoppers throughout, they use like all of their stoppers in one location. It's just a special, special area, usually in their people section or in their lifestyle section. Or you can do chronological. BMS made it really easy with chronological by doing events and then doing sports because our school is really big into sports. And we're going to have such a huge sports section. We really want to consider having sports by itself, whether we do chronological or traditional anyways. And then we did people, and then we did reference. So we only had 4 sections there. Other chronological books will break theirs up by month I really do not suggest you try to break it up by month, because that if you miss something or there's not a lot happening in that month, which sometimes, especially around testing time and whatnot, it can be difficult to find anything to put for that month. A lot of chronological do seasons like spring and summer, because they'll put those together and show the last year's spring in this year's yearbook. We obviously don't have a last year's spring because this is a brand new school. They have a summer, they have a fall, and they have a winter. And you can think about breaking your sections up that way. So decide your sections, come up with some catchy spin-offs. And there were some examples in those handouts I gave you. I'll show you a few more today. Verbal elements of the theme. Again, ways you can play around with the theme name, both direct and indirect. And then, of course, visual elements. You can draw those out, sketch those out, or present them on the computer, however you want to do that, just so long as they're clear and they're clean. Folio design. I'd like to see the folio design. If there's supposed to be a quote there, make up kind of the quote that you would envision somebody saying. We normally would not make up quotes, but because we want to see how the theme is going to look when it's finished, get a rough idea of that finished product, you can go ahead and you can make a few things up here. Utilize pictures that you download from the internet as placeholders. We can go to a high school for all of 2 weeks with nothing but celebrities if you want to pull celebrity photos to fill in those blank spots so that I can see what you are envisioning. That would be great. Cover design. Of course, you want to have a beautiful cover design, but it needs to be front and back. The way you're going to set that up is take a book, lay it down open flat, and see where the back is, see where the spine is, see where the front is. You can design it on the computer that way, or you can hand sketch it. However you want to do it is fine with me. Just make sure that you're not using somebody else's work. That's a big thing. Don't use templates for this. Ready-made templates. You're making your own templates. We don't want to utilize somebody else's design. So title page design, you can Google what belongs on a title page. I will put an example into this assignment. When I post it, there were examples in the handouts I gave you. They may be difficult to read, so of course I will make sure that there is an example with a completed title page in your assignment today. Opening spread design with copy. Copy is the text. It's the story or creative writing piece that is on that page. That's what we call copy. And so this particular copy needs to be introducing the book to your readers, not talking to me, but talking to the audience of the book. I will show you some examples of that and give you some ideas of how you can tackle that. And there's really no rule about it other than you want to introduce the theme without explaining the theme. Okay. If your theme has to be explained for people to understand it once the book is complete, you did not do a good job with the theme. Closing spread, it should have copy on it. However, I've pulled the copy off of it for this particular project because I didn't want to spend forever focused on, hey buddy, are you playing Jace? Don't scream, I've got the mic on. There you go, buddy. With that closing spread, I didn't want us to spend forever working on copy that we weren't going to finalize. So just for the purposes of this particular portfolio, give me a closing spread design with filler text. No actual copy needed. Divider design, pick a divider, any divider, and design it. Ad spread. I don't want a full ad spread here. I want a quarter of a page. I don't want a full-sized ad here. I don't want you to have to design every single ad size. Though if you want to go above and beyond, maybe score a few bonus points, you can. Reference spread design. This is your index and where you would put your group photos. And the index can kind of be handled a few different ways. We don't necessarily put our, well, we haven't done a yearbook at junior high yet, so we don't know for sure if we're going to put our group photos in the index, if we're going to put them on the actual page that they, you know, for the sport they belong on, if there's going to be a whole section in the people section where we put them. We're not quite sure how we're going to handle that. So I'm going to give you a lot of lateral movement in that index page. You can design it how you see fit, how you think it would best capture that theme and appeal to our audience. So make sure that when you're working on this, if you have 4 people in your group, you have a fair amount of work with 3 people, because you're going to have to double up. With 4 people, everybody can basically have their own spread, because there's the title page, okay? There's the opening spread, closing spread, and opening spread and closing spread should really kind of echo each other. So this, if you're working in a group with only 3, somebody who's doing opening should probably also do closing. And then you have that reference spread and then the divider spread. Title page is really just a single page. Ad spread is just a quarter of a page unless you want to go above and beyond. So make sure that you're dividing that workload up in a fair way so that you can not only get your one spread in there for your 25 points, but also so that you can get your 75 points. 75 points for working together as a group. Now, some people had some questions about this section. This you're not turning into me. So it's really a tool for you. You don't have to fill it out all the way. It doesn't have to be perfect. But when you're looking at these questions, please don't do that. That hurts. Our group, that who we are portion, is supposed to be where you explain who your group is. What do they do? What's important to them? Because essentially your group should represent the school and aspects of our audience. What we're good at. Talk about, you know, sure, you might be able to whistle Winn-Dixie through your nose, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about, what are you good at writing? Are you good at putting colors together? Are you good at figuring out what fonts look good? Who's good at design? Who's good at editing and revising? So figure out your strengths, because that will help with this next portion in deciding who's going to take on what portion of this project. After you figure out what everybody's good at, then figure out, okay, so I'm good at this person's good at this, we should divide the workload up this way, and that way we have the strongest product we can possibly present. The next page, it's about brainstorming and coming up with those theme ideas that can help reflect our school. The first couple of questions are basically to help us figure out what's important to our audience. What do they think of when they think of our school? What kind of reputation does our school have? What's going on this year that makes this year special, makes it different than all other years? Again, yes, this is the 2020 yearbook. No, I said this yesterday. No, you will not do any kind of cheesy 2020 vision, perfect vision. No. There are well over 1 million yearbooks that are being produced this year, and there are going to be several 100,000 out there with perfect vision 2020. We're not doing any of that mess, especially because that's really generic. Any school could use that this year. We want a theme that is specific to our school, something that no other school can have. And then, of course, you're just explaining the theme. Why do you like it? Why did you pick it? This is really important to do, to just kind of jot down some ideas here, because it's going to help you with that explanation copy that you have to turn in when you present your theme idea. Keywords, section spin-offs, and trademarks. The concepts and trademarks, it's basically what makes that particular section special from the other sections, and also connect it to the theme. So a well-designed yearbook theme is going to, in their people section, have something specific, like a sidebar or a question or a color treatment or a story type, a way of storytelling. Several years ago, Bryant High School did a really authentic yearbook. Actually, I want to say it was the year before last where they did a very authentic yearbook. It was basically from Blue to You was the theme. And it was like the school was writing a letter to the students. Love that theme, really creative. They actually, inside the yearbook, placed had a page where they glued down envelopes, and you could write a letter to your future self and put it in the envelope. But in the people section, they're known for their really beautiful, moving people stories where they interview individuals, or even sometimes 2 or 3 individuals that have a connected story. And they present that in their people section. And to tie it into their authentic letter writing theme, they chose a script font. And I believe they actually used the person's own handwriting. Not 100% sure. I haven't looked at that book in a few years, or a couple years rather. And so I'm not off the top of my head totally positive that it was authentic handwriting, but there's nothing saying we can't use authentic handwriting. We've done that before previously where people signed their name. And it can look good, it can look bad. But though each section should have a sidebar or a particular question or a treatment, some kind of graphic element that makes it tied to the theme but also makes it special. And then you can have what we call a whole book link. A whole book link is one that it doesn't matter what section you're in, you're going to see that particular item or graphic or sidebar. And we've done sidebars that run through the entire book, the same question being asked. Our folios have been our whole book link before. Really, a folio should be a whole book link. It should be the same regardless what section you're in, and it should definitely reflect the theme. Visual cool tools. I'm going to show you where to find your colors. I'm going to show you where to find your fonts. And then, of course, sketch this out before you start really playing around in the program today. That way you have an idea of what you want it to look like, because especially when you're starting out playing around with the program and figuring out how to utilize it, it can be very frustrating if your vision is not fully realized before you start to apply it to the technology. So in the program that we use, I'm actually going to log out here so that you can watch me log in. So you'll go to yearbookavenue.jostens.com. And the website, it'll be linked in for you to be able to access it with just a click of a button. You're going to scroll down. Oh, no, hold on. It's behind my bar up here. I can't see it behind my screen capture bar. But you're going to click on it, and it's going to pop up this way. Now, it's going to automatically default to 2019. You don't have an account for 2019. You have an account for 2020. So 2020, job number, it's all going to be in this particular document. Everybody's username is their first initial, last name, all lowercase. And then your password will be yearbook20. It will probably be midnight before I get every single name actually entered. So wait till tomorrow morning to try to access your account. Right now, the only one for demonstration purposes that's activated is Kylie's. Um, so Yearbook Avenue, you go to Yearbook Avenue, you put in the year 2020, the job number, because each individual Jostens school has their own job number. This helps us, and this helps the plant. So they know if Bryant Middle School, Bryant Junior High, and Bryant High School all have stuff coming to them and it just says Bryant on it, they can look at the job number and they can see who it belongs to. And so that's how we log into our Yearbook Avenues, with our job number. So 48356 is our job number. 48356. Kayla Rosa. And then Yearbook 20. So and I logged into Kylie's because mine as an advisor is a little bit different. I have a few things that I can do as an advisor that you guys don't necessarily have access to. But once you're in Yearbook Avenue, this is your dashboard. You'll get your welcome message. If we choose to use this, we can send out tasks to everyone. This is just like a really great way to assign stuff to people, to figure out, if you want to have a checklist and you're not a pencil and paper checklist, this is a good way to do that. We don't have any deadlines right now. We don't have any pages set. So this, of course, doesn't have anything here, but our coverage report will be here, our sales report. We have an inspiration gallery. So if you just click on that, this gives you tons of pictures that have been taken around the nation that are award-winning, that are the type of pictures that we want to have in our own book. So, excuse me. It's a great place for you to get some inspiration as far as what a picture should look like, what quality we're looking for. You may even see some familiar faces. So going back to home, the next place I want to show you is, of course, Digital Classroom. So if you go into Digital Classroom and you need some help with theme, in fact, I said I was going to link some things. I'm not going to link them now because I need for you guys to start looking for these resources on your own. This would be great practice for you to do so. And this would be great practice for the editors themselves if they're trying to help answer a question. Be able to use this Digital Classroom. Is it the end-all be-all? No, I bring in materials all the time that aren't connected to Jostens. But it is a good place to start. So you just type in theme in the search bar. I'm going to click on the little arrow and I'm going to try not to right click it. So theme development, you got all kinds of things that pop up. So this kind of gives me some ideas. Now this is all really generic. Okay, as far as those themes that they give you, we don't want to use those. If you don't like the theme planner I gave you, there's one in here that you can print out, or even you can upload it into Acrobat X and write on top of it in PDF editor if you have that installed on your computer. If you don't, good old-fashioned print and write on top of it. They tell you exactly how to go about each of the pages. Notice that we're not doing end sheets. I took that off of this assignment because we don't need them. We don't print them. We're not going to do a parting page. Parting page would be reflective of the title page. Title page opens up and shows all the school-related information, introduces the theme for the very first page, and then we have the opening, which actually has copy on it, and it's a double-page spread. Title page is a single page. Opening is 2 pages. Parting page is a single page. Of course, dividers are usually 2 pages. We've done partial dividers, like just part of the page was a divider, and then the rest of the spread was actual content because we had so little space before. But That is a great resource. What judges want for theme. Theme page surfer templates. Stay off of this. You don't need this because you can't use any of it. Introduction to theme. They've got all kinds of beautiful things in here for you to utilize. So theme development presentation. And click on that and it'll open up. You guys can't see that I've opened it here, but it is something that you can open up for yourself. I will link this one because I do think that even if you don't take the time to go and search in the digital classroom, this is an invaluable resource the way they've presented this theme development here that you cannot see. I don't know why my screen capture does that. It doesn't actually capture everything on my screen. But you have designing your theme, style guide, theme planner, tons and tons of things here for you. Good to go themes. You can get an idea there. Do not use any of those themes because they're obviously not specific to our school. They're ready-made. Purpose of a theme, theme layering, theme best practices, basic strategy for marketing and theme. Tons and tons and tons of beautiful things here. Maybe I want opening copy. Let's see if anything pulls up for opening copy. All right, so I get some writing. Okay, brainstorm a theme scheme. Purpose of a theme. So I can go in here and I can click on things that pop up for whatever search I have. Be careful because it's very touchy. Google will often correct our spelling mistakes. This one won't. Don't get too wordy too, because if you use too many words, it only searches for those words together. It won't search for the words individually. It's a very basic search engine for digital classroom. Tons and tons of resources in here. Videos for you, and you can just click and play around. If you want it to really shine this year, I would suggest going and looking around at the different pieces. Showcase. We don't have a virtual book yet. You don't need to hit the contact because that would contact the plant and there's no reason to do that. But let's look at, we don't want to do that. We want to go to plan and we want to go to color palettes. So right now, every single color palette is active. It will not be active once we figure out what our theme is and what our specific colors are. But you can see what the different colors are that we have to work with. Like steel blue, mystic blue. So these are all classic colors. So think about, the names of these groups will kind of help you figure out what kind of feel these colors will invoke. So these are very classic, very soft, very muted. They're not modern. They would work in a traditional book. Let's maybe go to vibrant. Okay, different color scheme here. These are a lot younger feeling. They're still not super crazy. Be careful when you're picking out colors to not just pick colors that are really cute together, because these three, Regal Purple, Carnation, Fog, they look beautiful. They go together, but they're also very feminine. So I'm not saying you can't have a pink or a purple in there, because we definitely used pink and purple and baby blue. And I want to say in Impact, we used lots of feminine colors, but we balanced it. So there's feminine color with more neutrals, and then of course a more masculine color. Shocking. Shocking's actually not all that shocking to me, but it has a very intense hue. You've got freestyle, which I think is a little bit more shocking than the others. This is very modern. You know, if maybe I just use the top parts, it's enough to be gender neutral and very traditional. But when I start to introduce these colors down here, they're a lot more modern, they're a lot younger, spicy, Okay, that fusion right there. Super young, super hip. Now, the issue with this, because you don't have a color book, you don't know exactly how this is going to print. And so we will double check any colors once we finally decide on a theme. We will pull out our color book, and that'll let us know, that fusion that looked super yellow on my screen is actually a little more on the green side than what I originally thought. So that'll help us. Of course, there's intense. Beautiful. Grayscale is just all of the numbers of gray. And you want to have some kind of neutral in there. I can tell you this. There are a couple of colors that I would stay away from when I'm planning this. Yellows tend to not print well. Yellows never look as pretty on the page as you think they're going to. Stay away from those yellow tones if at all possible. If you want to introduce something bright like this, go for an orange. Red's very intense, and it might not give you the exact look you're going for. So they introduced some new color palettes I'm actually checking out right now. They've got Surf in there. They've got Sync. This is one of the new ones. Really, really punchy, just like the name of Punchy Lime here, but very beautiful together. Like, I love these four. I don't know how I would feel about them in the long term. Maybe throw in the Daring Pink to go along with them. But yeah, make your choices as you're playing around with all of this. Decide this works for us, and you don't have to necessarily just pick one color palette. So maybe you decide to choose Techno over here. You love that Techno because it's a heavier purple. It's not so light and childish. And then you go over to Rainforest, and you like that Nocturnal. Be careful not to go too dark, but you like that Nocturnal, or maybe that Lagoon, like that really deep purple with maybe that lake. You get a good contrast there. So you can pull colors, but write them down. Once you figure out what your colors are going to be, write them down, because some of these, like Paprika, it starts to look a little bit like that, not that classic red, but traditional. Where's traditional? Starts to look a little bit like that crimson after a while. So just be careful. Rumba and Crimson definitely look a whole lot alike. There are some subtle differences, though. Don't go, that's close enough. Put them side by side on the page. Play around with them. But because our screens all have different specs, they're all going to appear a little bit different on our screen. Now, fonts. So I just click on fonts, and we only have 2 fonts activated right now. Foundation Roman and Foundation Sans. You can, I'm going to activate all of them. No, I'm not. If you want to see fonts, because there's so many of them, we're not going to actually, and you guys won't all have access to the font booklet in here. You'll have to go into Digital Classroom because everybody has access to Digital Classroom. Go to font, and let's see. They may not have uploaded it yet. They haven't uploaded it yet. Let's look. Yeah, they haven't uploaded it yet, but Trend 2020 should kind of give you some idea of the new fonts that they have. Okay, so there's some fonts down here that we have access to. Tell me what you're looking for as far as fonts. I don't want to pin that. And we'll help you out. If I were to go in and activate all of those fonts though, nobody's going to be able to find the font they picked because the list is forever long. So let me just take you back to that page ladder. So page ladder up here takes you to where the book is. Ooh, you should all have creative ideas. Let me see if they've stuck. No, they haven't yet. Just covers. Sadness. I'll go ahead for right now and I'll give everybody access to the fonts. Don't freak out if after 2 or 3 weeks after this project is due, you no longer have access to that, because we'll turn off color selection for you guys and we'll turn off fonts for you guys, and that just keeps anybody from going in there and accidentally turning it on and then causing chaos and messing up our fonts in our book. So if you're working on a single page spread, go to that first page because that's where our title page would be. You need to run Flash. You've got to allow Flash in order for it to work. Now, of course, you can hand draw your pages, and that's perfectly acceptable, but they need to be crisp and colored, and you need to label them very carefully. Make sure that I understand what that design is supposed to be. If I want to add a picture box, I go right here to the little picture box, and then I can change the shape of it. I'm going to tell you right now, don't. Unless you have a really good reason to, don't. Because they're hard to design with, and when you get into things like triangles and hearts, that's not designing, that's decorating. And then I can change the size of that picture box here, and then I can drag an image into it. So I'd go to images. I don't have any images obviously because we've just started the year, but I could click on this and I could upload whatever image I downloaded. I don't have any downloaded images available today, but you just click on this little plus sign, click upload, you go in, you select your image, just like if you were uploading to a particular website like Facebook, or I've not uploaded to Instagram, but I'm assuming that's the same. Select this photo, upload to Instagram. And then you just hit OK. And then it'll pop up over here in this list, and then you just click and drag it. Now, if I want to add text, I click on the A. Okay, if I want to add a shape, I click on... Yeah, is that so? Tell me more about inflation. All right, so I can click on the shape here, and I can have a screen that I put on top of or behind things. What are you doing, you silly goose? And then I can change the color of my fonts. I can change what font type. I can even do some cool things with putting a border around my photo or around my shape if I go over to the format button. So I've got these different elements down that I want. Let's pick our picture. So let's say on my title page, I'm working with, let's say I'm going to work with I can actually move this off the page. You just can't put it in between because it will automatically snap on the page. But you have this space over here as kind of a clipboard to hold things. Let's say I'm going to work with a really tall and skinny font. And so I want, or maybe I know since it's a new school, I'm going to put a picture of the building here on the title page instead of having a bunch of people. And so to have the front of the building, I'm going to have a pretty wide shot as opposed to a vertical. And maybe I want like 2 more pictures. Yeah. We'll go 3. Oh, there goes my spacing. All right, perfectly spaced. But I want for the pictures to stand out from this background picture. And so I'd go over to stroke, and let's use a pretty thick line here because I want to really introduce some cool colors. So I've got them all selected. I'm going to use that pink. But maybe I don't want it to all be pink, so I just select one, and then I change that to blue. And then over here, maybe I want to do something cool with this big background photo. And so I take that, I'm going to stretch that shape, and you're like, wait, I can't see through it. So let's change the color here. And then let's change the transparency. Okay, so the transparency will let me see through it. So it just creates this like little screen. Or maybe I don't even want to do all of that. Maybe I want, let's see. Maybe I want to start my copy on top of the photo. And so I need a screen so that the copy doesn't get lost in the photo. I can make it as dark or as light as I want to make it. If I tint it, it's going to have this kind of like white cloud over it. So you can play around with that. Don't corner round. There's zero reason to use rounded corners. They look tacky and cheap like you did in a word processor. Don't use rounded corners. We don't want to change the shape. We're good with this shape. Or maybe I want to do a background in triangles. So I could change it to triangles, and I could do my background. Maybe I don't want this on top. So I go to arrangement and I put send to back. Okay, so there's tons of different things I can do here with formatting, with my fonts. I want this to be nice and big and bold. Okay, so my filler text is all highlighted now. It's 28. Let's say I'm doing, oh, hold on, click the wrong box. Oh, standing, do it in all caps. And this is an ugly font, I know. You can't steal Daddy's Xbox controller. Give it back to him. That doesn't work in here. All right. So we've got standing tall. And I'm going to make it just slightly bigger. Maybe I don't want it to be that big, so I can go actually click on this and I can change the size there. And almost perfect. Okay, maybe I hate that font, which I do. So I can go to sans serif. A little bit better. That was a little bit better. And then try not to center too many things because it just doesn't look nice. You can do left align, right align. Justified is typically what we use in newspaper, but center use sparingly. Okay, if you're going to use it at all, use sparingly. We don't have any styles added. Once we figure out our theme, we'll have like a headline style and a body copy style. So you don't have to go in and continuously change the size and the fonts if we're using a lot of different fonts. When you're choosing fonts, I would do no more than 3. Chances are you can get away with, if it's a strong font family, you can do 1 font family for the entire book. If you want to have some really cool treatments with your headlines, you may do 2. Remember readability. For your body copy and your captions, choose something simple. A sans serif works really well. Sans serif doesn't have the feet on it. See, this is a sans serif, and if I do Roman, it's a serif font, and so it's got little feet here. If you want more help with that, ask your experienced staff members to help explain the difference between the two. Okay, so that's really all there is to designing with this and playing with it. It's a finicky program, so when we're doing very detailed designs or we're doing more complex designs, we will use InDesign. Those are going to be assignments that are going to be given to people that already have some experience with this program. So you don't have to worry about that too much. If you want to play around with canva.com, I will link that. It's free. Excuse me. It's free. It's a little easier to use than this once you get the hang of it. But again, it's got some options on it that we can't necessarily use. Like, we don't have access to every font in the world, and we don't have access to every color in the world. We have access to a very limited, limited set. So we want to be aware when we're designing in Canva that we're not using something that we can't get in Yearbook Avenue. Okay, so we've got a lot going on here. Very girly, very poorly designed, actually. This is, just put that back that way. Okay. And then I can put my copy here, drop cap, everything good. The kerning on this is awful. The leading is awful. I do not like this font. It's terrible. So this is my title page. I'm going to save it, but I've got to save it a special way. I want to save as either a practice page or as a template. So let me save it as a practice page. I'm going to say Miss Abo's bad page. Okay, save. Done. If I'm doing a double page spread, I want to work on a double page spread. I'm going to leave. I don't want to save anything directly on that page. It's really important that we save it as a practice page or as a template. It's better to save it as a practice page, so it makes it easier to edit, honestly. If I want to do a double page spread, I'm going to click on the 2 pages that come right after that title page, and then I have both pages. It already comes complete with a folio. Take that folio off. We're not using that folio. Okay, and the same thing applies there. You would design, boom, beautiful, perfect. Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. That's okay. My default was to click on that, but let's go to save, and we're going to save as practice page. And yep. So when I'm going back in to work on a practice page, because I don't know anybody, professionals, genius designers, nobody that sits down and knocks out a well-designed page and then walks away with it all in one day. Okay, when they're designing, they're going to come back to it multiple times. So you're going to have to come back to it. So you're going to go to Designs. You're going to click on a page, get to your page, and you're going to go to Designs here on this bar. And then they have already ready-made templates. Do not use these. This is plagiarism if you use these. We can't compete with this, so why would we have it? So we can go into, oh, where is it? Where is it? They've moved everything around. So practice pages right up there at the top. Used to be in the middle, I think, wasn't it? So I can just pull this page over, and then I can begin working on it. Okay, I can go in directly to the practice page, and I can hit edit. And so I don't have to resave it as a practice page. Just click on the little icon here. So that's Yearbook Avenue. There's a few other tricks I haven't shown you in Yearbook Avenue, and we'll get to those a little bit later. In fact, no, I'm going to go back and show you now. So let me go to Page Ladder. I'm going to click on the Page Ladder. I want to go to History because I did something that I don't like. This tells me exactly who did it and when they did it. So I just click on it and drag it over. And that will restore it back to. Now, when you're on a double page spread like this, oh, come on. There we go. When you're a double page spread like this, you have to click on each individual page to get to their history. Then you just drag it over. Come on. It's being silly. See, it's put the folio back, but it won't delete this because it's across the double page or across the gutter, which is ridiculous. But if you're working with text and fonts, oh, that's another thing. If you're working with a big headline and you want it to go across the gutter, you are going to have to work in 2 separate text boxes because it won't cross the gutter. Another thing, every element, like the headline needs to be a separate text box, the story needs to be a separate text box. If you're doing a drop cap, it needs to be a separate text box. So just be aware of that. So, but if you had a bunch of changes that you made that you don't like, you can revert back to an older one, and it will, maybe they'll fix that bug where anything crossing the gutter there does not delete. That's obnoxious. Yes, I'm going to save that. All right. When you're going and you're looking for some inspiration, you can click on the gallery. I would click on 19 and give it a second to load. My husband's streaming, so it's going to take forever. Why? Yeah, it's sad. We'll click on this one. All right. There would be pages that pop up here normally. Now I would be able to, I'd be able to look at those and click on them and zoom in. So obviously I can't see what Hawthorne did there because it won't load. But there's tons of information here that other schools have done, and you can kind of take a peek at their templates and their inspiration, and you can run with it. In fact, we'll be in these templates because these are all lookbook things. Bryant Middle School will be in these templates eventually. And it's just the best of the best from around the world. And now the ones that were there aren't showing up, so I can't show you. But you can go into Design Gallery, play around with that, have fun with it. There we go. So their theme is obviously Out of the Chaos. Maybe that's an opening spread, maybe that's a divider. Looks a bit like an opening spread. This looks like an opening spread. Kind of a unique thing there. Don't do what somebody else has already done. Just do this to get some ideas. Now, these are really old. These were done in 2013. That's silly. Silly looking at 2013 for inspiration. See? Look at how cheap that looks. So just be leery of making your yearbook look dated on accident by using all, just because the button's there doesn't mean you need to use it. This is good sports page here. This may actually be a divider. So you can just click on these and kind of get some ideas about what direction you might want to take. There's some end sheets. It's a little obnoxious. There's an index. So an index has all the different names. And you can do something cool with the letters. They've actually put their group photos on their sports page here. So you can look at different schools and how they address their theme. And I'll download and upload that PowerPoint because I think it's a really relevant PowerPoint. And that's all I have for you guys right now. Oh, also, I've got 2 spots for Jostens Camp for girls only. My boys' room is full. I have 2 rooms of girls, so that only have 3 girls in them. And so if somebody wanted to attend Jostens Camp, but dropped the ball or were late with getting stuff turned in or didn't have the money at that time, you can shoot me an email. If you still don't have the money at this time, but you want to go and you don't have anything else other than finances stopping you, contact me and your parents and I can work out a payment arrangement that works for them. If you're worried about overnight camp, remember this is a Christian school, so no shorty shorts and no tank tops and no muscle shirts for my boys and no short skirts for anybody. Make sure that you are not wearing skirts if you're a photographer or you think you might be in the photography classes. I have not decided who's doing photography classes yet. I wanted to wait and kind of get a feel for the staff and see who all is going to attend. And sometimes they'll let me, I'm only supposed to send in 2 photographers. Sometimes they'll let me sneak in a 3rd or a 4th, depending on how many schools are sending in photographers. So if I can, I will try to send as many of my newbie photographers as possible. If you've already done photography camp with Margaret Sorrows, I'm going to say no this time simply because it'll be a repeat of the previous year. And I have such limited space available. You'll still get some photography training, but you'll also get some other training and get to spend some time working on developing that theme. So, Jostens Camp also comes before your project is due. So if you're struggling with this project and you want to make a really great grade on it, you can definitely kind of flesh this out at Jostens Camp. That should not be your focus though, because we want to make sure that we are working together as a group, and it's not just about your grade. It's about making sure our yearbook as a whole is good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the video. Thank you guys for working on this project. Keep your editors involved. We will check up with you before we go off to Jostens Camp. We have one more camp day before we leave for Jostens Camp, so it'd be an excellent time for you guys to ask some questions. I'm going to give you an hour's work time at our next camp session for this theme project, but just an hour. And obviously this is something that's not going to be done in an hour. It's going to take multiple hours from everyone working. So get as much done between now and our next camp date as possible. For those of you that weren't in camp previously, your teams have chosen you. We made sure all of our kids were chosen. They weren't left on their own. So you have a team. Your teammates should have chosen you by now and told you what everything is supposed to be and gotten you up to speed. So if they are not communicating effectively with you, get on that. Make sure that you are proactive about that. Remember, your first point of access are your editors: Lydia, Chelsea, Kylie, Zach. Okay, those individuals are going to be points of reference for you guys, and you should go to them before you come to me with a question. If you have any questions that they can't answer, of course, by all means, shoot me an email, send me a text, or shoot me a message in GroupMe, and I'll be able to help you out. All right. Thanks.